I want to ask you a question that might make you uncomfortable. If you stopped working today, how long would your income keep coming in? Not your savings, not the money already sitting in your account. I mean new money. If you stop answering emails, stop joining meetings, stop showing up, stop delivering, how long before the income disappeared? For most people, the honest answer is not very long. Maybe the paycheck arrives next Friday. Maybe you have paid leave. Maybe your contract gives you a little runway. But eventually, the machine stops because you are the machine. And that is the trap nobody explains clearly enough. We were told that hard work creates wealth. Work hard in school. Work hard at your job. Stay late. Say yes. Be loyal. Grind harder than everybody else. Then one day, somehow, freedom is supposed to appear. But the math does not care how motivated you are. If every dollar you earn requires another piece of your time, your income is attached to a resource that is permanently limited. You can improve your rate, you can work longer, you can negotiate, but you cannot manufacture a 25th hour. So here's the real thesis of this video. Hard work is not useless. Hard work is not stupid. The lie is that hard work by itself creates freedom. Hard work only becomes financially powerful when it builds something you own. A salary can fund your life. A great career can give you purpose, skills, relationships, and stability. But if you want income that is not permanently chained to your presence, at some point you need ownership. Equity in a business, a product, intellectual property, or another asset that can create value without selling each hour one time. Today, we are going to dismantle the grindset myth with simple mathematics. Then I will show you how to move from renting out your time to owning a piece of the machine, without doing something reckless like quitting your job tomorrow. The grindset message sounds powerful because part of it is true. Effort matters, discipline matters, consistency matters. Nobody builds anything meaningful by waiting for perfect conditions. But then the message quietly makes a dangerous jump. It goes from effort matters to more effort automatically creates more wealth. Those are not the same statement. Imagine two employees. One works 40 hours and produces 10 units of value. The other works 60 hours and produces 20 units. The second person may get praise, a bonus, or a promotion. But do they automatically receive twice the economic upside? Usually not. The organization owns the customer relationship, the brand, the systems, the distribution, and the profit left after costs. The employee is paid according to an agreement. The owner captures the residual upside. That does not make the owner evil or the employee foolish. It means they occupy different positions in the equation. The employee sells labor. The owner owns the container that labor flows through. One is compensated for contribution, the other has a claim on what remains and on what the entire machine may become worth. Here is why the grindset can become a psychological trap. When income stalls, you assume the problem is your intensity. So you wake up earlier, you sleep less, you answer faster, you take on one more client. You stack a side hustle on top of a full-time job. You turn every hobby into a revenue stream. Your calendar becomes full, but your ownership stays at zero. You are running faster on the same treadmill. And because you are moving, it feels like progress. But speed and direction are different things. The better question is not, how can I work more? It is, what will this work leave behind? Will tonight's extra 3 hours disappear the moment you deliver them? Or will those hours produce a reusable process, a customer list, a software feature, a licensing asset, a brand, a distribution channel, or a piece of equity? Hard work that leaves no asset may pay you once. Hard work that creates ownership can keep paying you, or increase in value after the original effort is over. Let's put the emotion aside and look at the equation. Call your income I. Call your effective hourly rate R. Call the number of hours you can sell H. In the simplest version, I equals R multiplied by H. If your effective rate is $25 an hour and you sell 2,000 hours in a year, your gross income is $50,000. At $50 an hour, it is $100,000. At $100 an hour, it is $200,000. That can be a fantastic income. There is nothing wrong with it. But look at what has to happen if you want to grow. You have only two levers: increase your rate or sell more hours. The hours lever hits a wall first. There are only 8,760 hours in a year. You have to sleep. You have to eat. You need relationships, recovery, and a functioning nervous system. A typical full-time workload is roughly 2,000 hours a year before commuting, preparation, and the mental residue that follows you home. So, if you want to earn $1 million by selling 2,000 hours directly, your effective rate must be $500 an hour. If you want to work only 1,000 hours, it must be $1,000 an hour. Some surgeons, attorneys, consultants, entertainers, and elite specialists can create that level of value. But even then, the model remains fragile. If the expert cannot perform, the revenue may slow down. A premium hourly rate improves the cage. It does not remove the bars. And your advertised rate is not always your real rate. A freelancer may say, "I charge $100 an hour," but only 25 hours of a 40-hour week may be billable. The rest goes to proposals, follow-up, bookkeeping, revisions, scheduling, and finding the next client. If those invisible hours are required to generate the work, they belong in the denominator. That is why someone can raise a rate and still feel broke. The price improved, but utilization fell. Acquisition became harder. Unpaid administration expanded. The business looks premium from the outside, while the operator quietly works nights to maintain it. A salary disguises the hourly equation because the same amount arrives every pay period. But underneath, the company is still buying your availability, judgment, output, responsibility, and time within a role. If the employment relationship ends, the future salary normally ends with it. There is also a difference between income and wealth. Income is the flow of money through your life. Wealth is what remains under your ownership after the flow passes through. A person earning $300,000 and spending $300,000 can have less freedom than a person earning half as much who steadily acquires productive assets and keeps fixed costs under control. A higher salary helps only if part of the gap becomes ownership. Otherwise, every promotion can become a larger version of the same dependency. Now compare that with an ownership equation. An owner can build an offer once and sell it many times. The number of units can grow without the owner personally adding one identical hour for every sale. Software can serve the next customer at a low incremental cost. A book can be bought by 1,000 people. A trained team can deliver a repeatable service. A licensed design can generate a royalty. A media library can keep attracting attention. That does not mean the owner does no work. It means the relationship between hours and output is no longer one-to-one. And then there is the equity equation. If you own 20% of a business worth $2 million, your stake is worth $400,000 on paper. That value can rise even when you are not clocking another billable hour, because the business may be gaining customers, improving margins, building technology, or becoming more strategically valuable. Of course, it can also fall. The business may fail. The equity may be illiquid. Nobody owes the owner a return. Ownership removes the hard ceiling, but it also removes the guarantee. That is the trade. Labor usually gives you more certainty and less upside. Equity gives you less certainty and more potential upside. True freedom is not created by pretending risk does not exist. It is created by deliberately building a position where your upside is not capped by the hours you can physically sell. The second person spends weeks building a pipe. At first, the pipe builder looks unproductive. No water arrives. The bucket carrier is already completing trips and getting paid. People may even laugh at the person digging a trench. Then the connection is finished. Water begins to flow. The pipe still needs maintenance. It can leak. It may need upgrades. But now, one unit of effort can support many units of delivery. That is leverage. Leverage is not laziness. It is effort that continues to have consequences. A sales call that closes one client is linear. A sales script that trains 10 representatives is leveraged. Writing a custom report for one buyer is mostly linear. Turning the repeated insight into a standardized product can be leveraged. Posting one useful video is work. Building a searchable library of 100 useful videos creates an asset that can continue bringing attention, customers, and opportunities. The key word is can. People love the phrase, earn while you sleep, because it sounds like money appears magically at midnight. It does not. Most assets require upfront work, capital, risk, distribution, maintenance, and reinvestment. Passive income is usually active effort separated from the exact moment of payment. That separation is the breakthrough. When value can be delivered while you are unavailable, you have started to decouple income from time. And notice what compounding does. If your product improves, your audience grows, your customer acquisition becomes more efficient, and your reputation gets stronger, each new layer can make the previous layers more valuable. Yesterday's work helps today's work perform better. When you rent out time, yesterday's hour is gone. When you build an asset, yesterday's hour may still be on the field, playing for you. This also changes how you evaluate opportunities. A project that pays less today may be more valuable if it gives you reusable intellectual property, a case study, a distribution relationship, or equity. A project that pays more may be worse if it consumes every available hour and leaves you with nothing transferable. That does not mean you should accept vague promises instead of fair compensation. Exposure is not ownership. A handshake is not equity. If future upside is part of the deal, the rights, percentage, vesting, dilution, control, and exit conditions must be real and documented. Leverage is powerful only when you actually own it. Most people move through three economic positions, whether they realize it or not: labor, operator, and owner. Labor means you are paid to perform work inside somebody else's system. This includes hourly employees and most salaried employees. It can be stable, respected, highly paid, and deeply meaningful. But the primary asset belongs to somebody else. The operator controls more. A freelancer chooses clients. A consultant sets rates. A creator chooses topics. A small business operator may control the offer and customer relationship, but operators often discover a painful truth. They did not escape the job. They built a job with a more demanding boss, the customer. If every project still requires your personal delivery, you increased control but not leverage. You own the logo, but your calendar still owns you. The owner builds or buys systems that can produce value beyond personal execution. The owner may hire people, standardize delivery, license intellectual property, create software, build distribution, or hold shares in companies run by other people. You do not have to move through these stages in a straight line. You can be an employee and an owner at the same time. You can earn a salary and own diversified shares. You can work full-time and own a small digital product. You can negotiate stock compensation. You can participate in profit sharing. You can buy a modest stake in a business you understand. The goal is not to attach your identity to the word entrepreneur. The goal is to make sure at least part of your economic life belongs to you. Ask yourself, what percentage of my income comes from labor? What percentage comes from assets? And what percentage of my net worth is ownership? At the beginning, the answer may be 99% labor and 1% ownership. That is okay. The point is to change the direction. Because if all your income comes from labor, every emergency attacks the same source. Illness, burnout, layoffs, family responsibilities, and industry change all threaten the hours you are able to sell. Ownership gives you another engine. Let's make this real. Imagine Alex earns $80,000 a year in a marketing job. Alex is good at building campaign dashboards. The salary is stable, but the skill is trapped inside the work week. The usual hustle advice tells Alex to take freelance clients at night, so Alex charges $50 an hour for 10 extra hours each week. That creates about $500 a week before tax and expenses. Helpful? Absolutely. Free? Not even close. Alex now has 2 calendars to obey. A smarter second move is to look for repetition. Alex notices that every client needs a similar dashboard, onboarding checklist, and reporting workflow. Instead of rebuilding everything from zero, Alex creates a standardized toolkit and sells a license for $49. The first month is ugly. Alex spends 40 hours building it and makes 0 sales. This is the part the internet edits out. Ownership usually pays later than labor. The second month, 10 people buy it. $490 in gross revenue, not life-changing. But Alex did not need 10 separate 1-hour delivery sessions. The product crossed the first boundary. One piece of work served multiple buyers. After customer feedback, better examples, and consistent distribution, suppose the toolkit eventually reaches 100 sales in a month. That is $4,900 gross. After platform fees, refunds, advertising, support, taxes, and other costs, the amount Alex keeps is lower. Revenue is not profit, but the income is no longer a direct multiplication of client hours. Then Alex can make another ownership decision. Keep it as a small product. Turn it into subscription software. Train a team to customize it. License it to agencies. Or reinvest the profits into diversified ownership elsewhere. Notice what changed. Alex did not become free because of one template. Alex changed the architecture of the work. The same skill that used to disappear inside a salary is now embedded in an asset Alex controls. And this is not a promise that every product succeeds. Most offers need iteration. Some fail completely. The lesson is not digital products are easy. The lesson is that ownership gives effort somewhere to accumulate. Now we need to clean up one more fantasy. Equity is not a magic ticket. Equity means ownership. It gives you a claim on part of a business and, depending on the structure, a claim on future profits or sale value. But owners are paid from what remains after customers pay. Employees are compensated, suppliers are paid, lenders are satisfied, and expenses are covered. Employees often get paid before owners. That is why ownership has upside. It also carries downside. A founder can own 100% of a business worth nothing. An employee can receive stock options that never become valuable. A profitable company can become unprofitable. A private stake can be difficult to sell. A concentrated investment can destroy years of savings. So do not hear this video as financial advice to dump your paycheck into one exciting company. The intelligent goal is not ownership at any price. It is informed ownership with risk you can survive. For some people, ownership begins with broad, diversified funds that hold pieces of many public businesses. For others, it means stock compensation in a company they understand, a profit-sharing agreement, a small business, a royalty-producing asset, or a product they build themselves. The right vehicle depends on your knowledge, resources, legal environment, risk tolerance, and time horizon. But the principle is consistent. Wages pay for present contribution. Equity gives you participation in future value. That is why many high earners still feel trapped. They increased income but never converted enough of that income into ownership. Their lifestyle expanded at the same speed as their salary. Bigger home, better car, more subscriptions, more fixed costs. The paycheck became more impressive but also more necessary. Wealth is not merely a high monthly inflow. Wealth is a collection of assets and choices that reduce how desperately you need the next paycheck. Freedom does not mean you never work again. For most ambitious people, that would become boring very quickly. Freedom means work becomes a choice you can negotiate instead of a command you cannot refuse. So how do you make the transition without blowing up your life? You build a bridge. Here are 6 moves. Move 1. Protect the cash flow engine you already have. Do not quit a stable job because a motivational clip made employment sound weak. Your salary can be your first investor. It pays rent, reduces desperation, funds experiments, and gives you time to learn. A runway makes you more patient, and patience improves decisions. Before taking serious risk, understand your expenses, reduce toxic high-interest debt, and build an emergency cushion appropriate to your situation. The less desperate you are, the less likely you are to accept terrible deals or force an unfinished idea onto the market. Move 2. Reclaim a small block of consistent time. You do not need 6 extra hours every day. You need a protected block you can sustain. 5 focused hours a week for a year is 260 hours. That is enough to test an offer, learn a valuable skill, publish a meaningful body of work, or build the first version of a small asset. Call them ownership hours. They are not for extra client requests, random scrolling, or endlessly polishing your logo. They are for work that leaves something behind. Move 3. Choose a vehicle that matches your unfair advantage. Do not copy the business model currently getting the most views. Start with evidence. What problem do you understand? What do people already ask you for? What process do you repeat? What audience can you reach? What asset can you build or buy without risking money you cannot afford to lose? A designer may create a licensed asset library. A technician may build a maintenance service with standardized contracts and trained staff. A teacher may develop a curriculum that institutions license. A creator may build a media library and products for a specific audience. A strong employee may negotiate equity or systematically invest part of every paycheck in diversified ownership. Move 4. Sell one repeatable outcome. People do not buy your passion. They buy a result, relief, identity, convenience, or transformation. Make the promise specific. Do not say, "I do marketing." Say, "I help independent clinics turn unanswered inquiries into booked appointments with a standardized follow-up system." Deliver it manually at first. Learn where customers get stuck. Document the steps. Find what repeats. Then turn the repeated parts into templates, training, software, delegation, or a productized service. Manual, repeatable, delegatable, scalable. Move 5. Own distribution, not only production. A great product nobody sees is a private hobby. Distribution is the ability to reach people repeatedly. An email list, a trusted channel, search traffic, partnerships, a sales team, a community, or a brand people remember. If one platform controls all your reach, you are renting again. Build a direct relationship where possible. Capture permission to contact customers. Learn sales. Create proof. Distribution turns an isolated asset into an economic engine. Move 6. Convert income into more ownership. When the asset begins producing cash, resist the urge to immediately upgrade your lifestyle. Reinvest intelligently. Improve the offer. Strengthen systems. Hire carefully. Build reserves. Diversify. Buy back your time. This is the flywheel. Labor creates surplus. Surplus buys or builds assets. Assets create cash flow or appreciate. That value funds more assets. Over time, the percentage of your life financed by direct labor can decline. It is not instant. It is not guaranteed. But unlike grinding without ownership, the direction of travel is toward leverage. Maybe you are thinking, not everybody can be a founder. Correct, and not everybody should be. Ownership is bigger than entrepreneurship. You can own pieces of public businesses through diversified investments. You can seek profit sharing or equity compensation. You can build a tiny asset next to a good career. You can partner with an operator. You can buy intellectual property or create it. The objective is not to cosplay as a CEO. The objective is to stop depending on one economic mechanism. Maybe you are thinking, my job pays well and I like it. Great, keep it. This is not anti-job. A strong job can be one of the best platforms from which to build ownership because it gives you skills, credibility, savings, and relationships. Maybe you are thinking, I do not have enough money. Then your first equity may be sweat equity in something small, a useful guide, a niche service with documented systems, a simple tool, a body of content, or your first modest, regular investment. The scale is less important than learning the behavior of ownership. And maybe you are thinking, I am already exhausted. Then do not add a chaotic hustle. Remove something before you add something. Trade low-value consumption for a small block of deliberate construction. The answer to burnout is not more random activity. It is more intentional architecture. You do not need to hate employment. You do not need to worship entrepreneurship. You need to understand which side of the equation you are on and make that position a conscious choice. Here is your challenge. Over the next 30 days, create one thing you own that can deliver value more than once. It does not have to replace your salary. It does not have to go viral. It does not need a perfect brand. It needs one clear customer, one repeatable problem, one offer, and one attempt to make a sale. Week 1. Identify a repeated problem you understand. Week 2. Build the smallest useful solution. Week 3. Put it in front of real people and ask for money. Week 4. Document what worked, fix what failed, and make delivery less dependent on you. And if building a business is not your path, make the challenge about conversion. Decide what percentage of your earned income you can responsibly begin converting into diversified ownership. Then learn the risks and automate the habit. The point is simple. Do not work less because somebody on the internet told you hard work is a lie. Work hard, but stop letting hard work be the only asset you have. Your hours are precious because they do not regenerate. Spend some of them on today's obligations. Spend some on becoming more valuable. But reserve some for building what can exist without you. Renting out time can finance the journey. Ownership changes the destination. If this changed the way you see your paycheck, your business, or your calendar, subscribe and send this to one person who is working incredibly hard but still feels stuck. Then answer this in the comments. What is one thing you can own 30 days from now that you do not own today? Stop counting only the hours you worked. Start counting the assets those hours created.